Okay, y'all. I'm just basically here to tell your teams to stop hiring second tier big name coaches. And by second tier big name coaches, I'm talking about people like a Jimbo Fisher, a Hugh Freeze, Brian Kelly, and maybe James Franklin, right? And I said so on James Franklin. I don't want to give him too much flack. But the reason why I say that is that I'm noticing fans and athletics directors and all these people, they're like, we want to have a team that's going to have a good standard and consistently get into the playoffs, and we want to really hire a good coach. The problem is you're hiring people who had some form of success in the past and maybe have beaten a good team here and there and maybe every once in a while, but they were let go for not getting the job done. So my question is, why do you keep hiring those type of folks? Why are you repeatedly hiring Brian Kelly, Jimbo Fisher, Hugh Freeze? So Auburn, I'm talking to Auburn. I'm talking to Florida. I'm talking to LSU now because they just fired the guy. I'm talking to all these teams who are firing their coaches. Stop shuffling second tier big names. And honestly, I'm going to call it out. I think part of the reason why they do that is because it sounds good to the fans and boosters to say, hey, we hired this coach with a big name. That's going to be good, right? No. If you really want to go to the next level, you need to hire the next up and coming coaches who actually know how to coach, who are known for coaching, not known for having a name or had success in the past. So, for example, you want to hire people like a John Summerall at Tulane, who's brought them a lot of success. You want to hire, which is unlikely to get him because he's having so good over there right now, Kirk Cignetti at Indiana. You want to hire people like a PJ Fleck, who took Western Michigan to an undefeated season in the BCS Bowl. Well, yeah, it wasn't a BCS Bowl, but like in one of the New Year's Bowls at that time. And he's now at Minnesota, and Minnesota is becoming like a consistent team. They're a solid team, which they were struggling before he got there. Those are the type of coaches you want. Let me keep going. Arizona State, Kenny Willingham, and I'm sorry for fans of those teams that I'm calling out. I know you don't want your coaches to be taken. Alabama went and took Kalen DeBoer from Washington. He was not a big name. People didn't really know who he was, even though Washington was having success. Alex Golish. You got people like G.J. Kinney at Texas State. You have Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. Matt Campbell at Iowa State. And these are coaches that are basically in D1. But what if you break it down to the next level? You go to the D2 level. You're forgetting about people like Tony Anesi, who's the Ferris State head coach. They won a Division II championship last year. You have, if we go back to D1, you got Brian Hines, Indiana's defensive coordinator. Indiana's defense is playing amazing. They run to the ball. They're disciplined. That type of play, a coach who knows how to get that out of players, that's a sign of someone who knows how to be a good coach. And that's the type of coach you want to go for. You got people like Mike Tressel, who, yes, he's related to the Tressel family, but he's Wisconsin's defensive coordinator. Everywhere he's been, he's improved defenses. He was at Cincinnati as their defensive coordinator in 2021 when they made it to the playoffs. And they had that great defense, and they had guys get drafted in the NFL. He was the defensive coordinator back then. You got Glenn Schumann down at Georgia. You might know his name because they talk about him every time they talk about Georgia's defense. You have Shiel Wood, who is, I think I'm saying his name right. Is it Shiel, who's Texas Tech's defensive coordinator. Correct me in the comments, absolutely, for sure, if you know how to pronounce his name. But he's known for being a strong defensive mind and improving defenses. These are the type of coaches you want to go for. You want the new rising star. You don't want to hire the has-been, which, by the way, Jimbo Fisher, Brian Kelly, all your guys, I'm not calling y'all has-been. I'm just using that term to make a point here in the sense that if fans really want something new, something fresh, they want to take the risk of going for a higher reward, you got to stop hiring the safe option. The safe options are people like Jimbo, Brian Kelly, a Hugh Freeze. And safe is relative here because obviously they get let go. They don't always have success. These are guys who had success 10 years ago. 10 years ago doesn't mean you're going to be successful now. So that's what I'm getting at here. And then I'll name the last three names. These are just people that I was doing some research and I was pulling up. I said, these are good coaches. You got Sean Lutz, who's Slippery Rock, Division II as well, head coach. Took them very far in the playoffs. They got to the championship game and lost to Ferris State. You have Scott Wooster at Grand Valley State. You have Jim Clements at Kutztown. These are, you got to look for, I think, and the reason why I mentioned going hard on D2 is that you remember that Ohio State's head coach from the early 2000s, Jim Tressel, who came from Youngstown State, which is D2. These are the people you want to go after if you really want to take that next step, take a risk, and really aim for higher heights and go for a bigger standard than what you had before. You have to take a risk on the upcoming stars, the risers, the people who are able to take the game today and innovate something and attack the game from a fresh perspective. Not take what people who've been successful in the past and have them try to elevate your team to something great today, when more than likely you're going to end up with a mediocre result and you're going to fire that person in the end. That's what I have to say.